I'm dumptruck DS and welcome to a brand new series. I'll talk about the new series at the end of the video, but first, VuRkka, who's a great Quake mapper and a great Quake player, knows a lot about co-op, and he recorded a step-by-step guide to get you playing co-op as soon as possible. You really should play co-op if you haven't. It's a blast. But for now, here's VuRkka.
Hello Quakers, and welcome to another episode of the Quake Guides. Today we are gonna take a look at Quake Co-op. We're gonna go through the steps on how to set it up, how to host a game, how to join a game, and then some quick troubleshooting. But at first we need to talk about source ports. These two are obviously Quake World ports, and then you have your regular Quakespasm, Quake, Mark V, what have you, and they work a little bit different than they should be working in terms of networking today. In a way that they need many ports open while connecting to another clients, and by many I mean pretty much most of them. So we're gonna get rid of them too, and we're left with Quakespasm-Spiked. It can handle networking by using just one port. It's not the best engine in terms of physics, but it is what we have. Forwarding a port. It is done through your router, and we're gonna use the web GUI here. It is usually located at 192.168.1.1. You have to log in, of course, and you get the credentials from your manual or something. If you are using your service provider's router and they don't want to let you in, you should be able to call them and tell them to forward the port for you, but that change isn't permanent and will usually revert to defaults in 24 hours or so. After signing in, we need to look for wide area network settings, or WAN. The GUI looks different on different models of routers. After WAN, we're going for port forwarding. There's also port trigger, but that's a little bit different thing. You need to enable the forwarding if it's not on by default. Then we add a service name. Source IP you can left blank. Port range, the default port for Netquake is 26,000. Then you need to define the IP, the local IP of the machine that you are hosting on. If you don't know what the IP is, on Windows you can go to command line, type in ipconfig, and this is your local IP. On Ubuntu you can do IP space R, and this is your local IP. If you're on any other distro, I assume you already know what you're doing. Local port, it's the same. Protocol, and then add and apply. It will take a few minutes. When that is done, there are still things like network address translation and IP masquerading that may still prevent your connection even though you're forwarded port. This is pretty much the case if you're on a mobile internet, in which case you need to use a VPN. I've never used one, but a VPN can simulate a local network over the internet. The Quake speedrunners use one certain VPN, and they have a written guide for it over at speeddemosarchive.com, so I'm not going into it on detail. You probably already tried setting up Co-op 1, then doing map start. The co-op settings will be on, but your game won't start looking for incoming connections unless you do it via the multiplayer menu. Go to multiplayer, new game, TCP/IP, hit OK, game type set to cooperative, team play, whatever you want, and begin game. Now your game is looking for incoming connections, and you can start to play with your friends. Now if you're playing with a friend and you're hosting with your game program, if your game crashes or you quit, the game will disconnect for everyone else too. So if you want to take a break, you can hit a pause key on your keyboard, it will pause the game for everyone. Or you can use a dedicated server. There are Quake clients made specifically for dedicating a server, but you can use the Quakespasm-Spiked. And since you are already playing with it, why not use it? You can turn it to a dedicated server by adding dedicated to the command line. Define the port you want to use, and this is just memory allocation. If you want to play with a mod, you can add game and mod name, just like you would do in a single player. While you are connected and you want to change the map, you can do it with a map command, but everyone else will disconnect while you're doing it. You can change the map with the change level. This is pretty much same thing as someone hitting the change level trigger, and everyone will join you. If you change the mod on the fly, everyone will disconnect and they have to reconnect. If you use a dedicated server, configuring it changes a little bit. It will look for a server.gf key, and it should be placed in your ID1 directory. If you are hosting several games with the same Quake directory, just add in the settings you are using on all of them. Like here, I have just Co-op 1 and SV protocol 999. Joining a game is much more easier than setting up a game. You just type in connect, then the IP you're connecting into, and the port. Even though we are using the default port, you still need to define it. And here we go. Joining a game with a mod, you first need to set up the game mod directory and then connect. Connect the IP and then the port. And there we go. If you're connecting and you're getting timed out, you probably don't have the port forwarded correctly, or you didn't define the port while connecting in. If while connecting this happens instead, you didn't set the mod directory before connecting in. There we go again.
A big thank you to VuRkka for preparing the video that you just saw, and hopefully you'll jump into co-op as soon as possible. It's really fun. In fact, some of the most fun I've had playing Quake in the last couple years, one of the times was with ArrCee, and I've got a link to that video below. I'll also put a link to YouTube of VuRkka and Zigi playing the Copper mod Underdark Overbright. It's a really great co-op playthrough, so you should get a little taste of co-op and then definitely play co-op. As far as this new series, we don't have big plans yet. I have at least one episode I've got planned out, but it'll come later, a little later down the line. But if you have ideas, please hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you'd like to see or some information that you're a little foggy on as far as Quake, and we'll try to hook you up. Until then, Thanks for hanging in there. We'll see you in the next video.